Stock surge and dollar plunges as inflation data boosts hopes. Biden to meet Xi on November 14th. Germany blocks Chinese-owned chip firm. Cuban and U.S. officials meet in Havana. A third of Hong Kongers seeking UK visas were minors. NASA transports first ever Zimbabwean and Ugandan satellites into space. Iranian actress Taraneh Alidoosti voices support for protests. Polish leader blames low birth rate on women using alcohol.
G'day, I'm Carrick. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Friday, November 11, and here are your top stories. The U.S. Consumer Price Index, CPI, rose 7.7% year-over-year in October, which was less than the original 8% estimate. This showed that the prices urban U.S. consumers pay for a basket of items cooled down in October. Upon the news, U.S. stocks surged, the dollar slid, and Treasury yields dropped as the cooler-than-expected inflation data suggested the Federal Reserve's barrage of interest rate hikes are beginning to have the intended effect. The dollar index fell 1.96%, while the euro went up 1.55% to $1.066. The Japanese yen strengthened 3.21% versus the greenback at 141.92 per dollar.
Chief market economist at Spartan Capital Securities, Peter Cardillo, said the hikes in interest rates are beginning to bite into the economy and lower inflation as consumers become more frugal. There is a possibility the Fed raises interest rates by 50 basis points in December and then takes a pause. According to CME's FedWatch tool, financial markets have now priced in a near 81% likelihood of a smaller 50 basis points interest rate hike at the conclusion of next month's FOMC policy meeting.
Bloomberg reported that on November 11, a senior Biden administration official said that U.S. President Joe Biden was set to set the floor to prevent U.S.-China ties from deteriorating further when he meets his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on November 14. Bloomberg said White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre confirmed in a statement that the meeting would take place November 14. The media also reported China so far hasn't confirmed the Xi-Biden meeting, with Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian saying Thursday that Beijing took the U.S. proposal seriously and the two sides were in communication.
On Wednesday, Biden said, "What I want to do with him when we talk is lay out what each of our red lines are and understand what he believes to be in the critical national interest of China, what I know to be the critical interest of the United States, and then determine whether or not they conflict with one another." Biden said that he is not willing to make any fundamental concessions about the United States Taiwan doctrine. The anticipated Biden-Xi meeting would be the first between the leaders of the world's biggest economies since Biden became president in January 2021.
The German government on Wednesday blocked the sale of a chip factory to a Swedish subsidiary of a Chinese company. According to the German media, the German company Elmos said this week that it had been informed that the $85 million sales of its chip factory in Dortmund to Silex Microsystems AB of Sweden would likely be prohibited. Silex is owned by Sai Microelectronics of China. The deal was announced in December, but it raised concerns over the wisdom of putting German IT production capacity in Chinese hands.
German Economy Minister Robert Habeck said the government also blocked a second planned investment by an investor from outside the European Union, but he wouldn't give details because it is still subject to the business confidentiality of the company involved. Elmos said it would analyze the decision with regard to whether there is a material violation of the parties' rights and decide whether to take legal action. The media said Scholz's nearly year-old government plans to draw up a comprehensive China strategy.
Cuban and the U.S. State Department officials met in Havana on Wednesday to discuss the expansion of consular and visa services on the island. The U.S. Embassy closed in 2017 following a series of health incidents. While the full reopening has yet to be announced, U.S. officials have said that visa processing would resume in January. The U.S. delegation included Rana Bila, Assistant Secretary of State for Consular Affairs, and U. Mendoza Hadu, Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Before the bilateral meeting, the media reported that U.S. immigration officers encountered nearly 221,000 Cubans along the U.S.-Mexico border in fiscal year 2022. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection data, this figure represents a 471% increase from the year before. A State Department official told the Associated Press that Washington's delegation also discussed concerns regarding human rights in Cuba. The official said Bitter urged the Cuban government to unconditionally release all political prisoners.
Struck 它是 strike 这动词的过去式 strike a deal 就是
学习享受一个人的美好时光 FUNDAY 英语
The South China Morning Post reported that nearly one-third of Hong Kongers who applied for a new route to British citizenship were under 18. According to official figures obtained by the newspaper published on Wednesday, of the 142,000 Hong Kongers who have applied for the British National Overseas Visa Program, also known as the BNO program, over 38,000 were in this age bracket. The media said that this reflects a population exodus of the city's next generation of workers.
At this immigration fair in Hong Kong, attendees are making life-changing decisions.
The UK government launched the program in January 2021 after Beijing imposed a national security law on the former British colony. Last month, the UK government extended the eligibility for the program to younger people with at least one parent with BNO status. According to the South China Morning Post, as of June, 133,124 people have been approved for the visa. The media said that about 121,500 residents left from June 30th, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, which is the largest outflow in at least 6 decades.
African News reported Zimbabwe and Uganda have launched their first homegrown satellites into space on November 7th aboard a NASA rocket. Zimbabwe's satellite, named SimSat-1, was designed by 3 of the country's scientists who were supported and trained in Japan. Uganda's satellite, the Pearl Africa Sat-1, was also built by 3 of its own aerospace engineers. The nation hopes that it will be able to set up its own command station to manage it.
It's a first for both Zimbabwe and Uganda. Both countries launched their first homegrown satellites into space yesterday.
The media said once in orbit, the 2 satellites will collect images to help support research into weather forecasting, as well as monitoring water security and disaster prevention for their countries. However, controversial launch provoked strong reactions on social media networks because of the poor state of the Zimbabwe's economy. The cost of the project was not disclosed. Zimbabwe has been in a deep economic crisis for the past 2 decades and remains under international sanctions.
Top Iranian actress Taraneh Alidoosti has posted a picture of herself on Instagram without a headscarf to express support for the nationwide anti-government demonstrations. The media said it's another sign that the protest movement is gaining support for all layers of society. Best known for her role in The Salesman, which won an Academy Award in 2017, the pro-protest artist held up a sign in the Instagram post which read, "Woman, Life, Freedom" in Kurdish, a popular slogan in the demonstrations.
Iranian actress Taraneh Alidoosti on Wednesday posted a photo of herself on Instagram.
Alidoosti, who is not a Kurd, wrote a poem on her Instagram post. It read, "Your final absence, the migration of singing birds, is not the end of this rebellion." In the past, Alidoosti has posted many Instagram posts critical of the clerical establishment. The media reported since the start of the protests, at least 5 female Iranian actresses have posted pictures of themselves without the compulsory hijab in solidarity with the demonstrations in which women have played a leading role.
A women's rights group in Poland on Monday urged people to demonstrate after the country's ruling party leader claimed that Poland's low birth rate is partly caused by young women drinking too much alcohol. Opposition politicians, activists and celebrities accused Jarosław Kaczyński, a 73-year-old bachelor, of being out of touch. They also argued that Kaczyński, the most powerful politician in Poland since 2015, is himself partly responsible for low birth rate in the Central European nation of 38 million people.
Poland's ruling party leader Jarosław Kaczyński has received criticism for his comments over young women in Poland.
According to the World Bank, the number of births per woman in Poland has plummeted from 3 children per woman in 1960 to 1.2 in 2003. Kaczynski's government introduced a monthly cash benefit of $108 per child in 2015. The birth rate has begun rising again, but in 2021, there were 1.32 children per woman. Kaczynski spoke last Saturday. If, for example, the situation remains such that, until the age of 25, girls, young women drink the same amount as their peers, there will be no children.
FUNDAY News will help you sharpen your English skills and keep you informed about international current events. If you want to know more about our other programs and keep learning about the world's most important topics in English, please click the link in the description below to join FUNDAY for free. I'm Carrick, your host. I'll see you next time.